House of the Dragon Episode 1 premiered on HBO Max this past weekend, and we've got your review right here.
So stay tuned.
Hey all you Minties, the amazing Amanda here with my co-host, the lovely Uncanny Omar.
It's just Uncanny Omar today.
Yes, but he's lovely every day. And today we're going to be talking about our review and recap, I guess, of House of the Dragon Episode 1, premiered on HBO Max this past Sunday, and we're really excited to talk about it. It's been a while since we've seen a Game of Thrones property out, since that lovely last
Also
season
not
8.
lovely. Also not lovely. It's been a while since we've done a pre-recorded episode.
That's true, too.
We do one, and then you can always catch us live usually on Friday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Correct.
We might start doing some after the episode watch party, because we did that with the original Game.
We did that with the original Game of Thrones in the last 2 seasons.
Last couple seasons.
Yeah, last couple seasons.
We may start that, so keep an eye on our social media at
Exactly.
nearmintcon. But yes, it feels so weird to go back to Westeros, because I wasn't hyped for this.
Yeah.
Because the final season of Game of Thrones, and I know it's hard, to let go of the past and focus on this. It was so bad that I was like, I'm done.
Yeah.
I don't care what they go back to. I remember there was supposed to be a pilot with Naomi Watts.
Yeah,
right?
Naomi Watts. Yep, there was a
And
pilot that was going on with that. That got canceled. Yeah.
And maybe it was too soon. I think enough time has passed. And that opening, by the way, we're going to be talking about spoilers.
Yes.
Just in case. That opening took me back to King's Landing. Took me back to that feeling of like, oh my gosh.
We're here.
Game of Thrones was a good show.
Yes.
Despite of what couple of episodes in that last season, Game of Thrones was solid, and I missed that.
Yep.
So it was a night, the music, the atmosphere, the buildings that you recognize right away and have aged really well for 172
years. Yeah,
right?
So did the fashion. But yeah, you're right.
But the dragons. Now we're living in a time of dragons. So this is all a prequel.
16 dragons? A lot of dragons are in this. There will be a lot of dragons. Yes, but there will be a lot of dragons, because this is the time there were a lot of dragons.
Well, and then the whole House Targaryen thing has always been the 3-headed dragon, right?
Exactly.
So that story, it makes sense that they have 3 dragons in this particular episode.
Exactly.
So this is all a prequel that is not being headed by the 2 gentlemen that worked on the original Game of Thrones.
Yes, not the Davids. It is being headed up by Ryan Condal, who has been a writer on a number of different series, and then George R. R. Martin. They're both credited as the creators of this. Now, it is based off of George R. R. Martin's Fire and Blood book, which, in fact, the title of this episode is called Heirs of the Dragon, and that is one of the chapters in Fire and Blood.
I've never read that one, but I read the Song of Ice and Fire. So was that one...
That came out after... Well, what?
Wait, he's not finished with the 6th book yet?
He's not finished with the 6th book, but...
Winds of Winter?
Yeah, Winds of Winter. He's not finished with that, but this had come out in the interval, like during the time of Game of Thrones filming.
Oh, okay. So
yes,
this was like a historical look at some of the past... so a lot of the characters come from that particular story?
Exactly. Fire and Blood, the events of all of that lead up to the Targaryen Civil War, which is the Dance of Dragons, which I'm assuming we are going to be seeing in this show. We're going to talk about that a little bit later on.
Civil War?
What we can expect.
Whoa,
Which they've mentioned this stuff, the Dance of the Dragons, some of the events of it in Game of Thrones in general, in the actual book series, as well as a little bit on the show. So that's why you'll see some of the Easter eggs and stuff throughout this show that you might recognize from our later shows. So we're going to talk about Easter eggs as well. But yeah, so this one takes place 172 years prior to Daenerys' birth and the Mad King's downfall at the hands of all of our big Westeros families. And it pretty much starts out with the narration of King Jacaerys, who all of his eldest sons have died. He has no heir to the throne, and so they form a great council that basically comes together to just vote on who will succeed him in the throne. The 2 people who had the biggest claim is Princess Rhaenys, and then, of course, Prince Viserys, which is the male heir, which is who everyone selects to be the new heir to the throne. And so all of the family members that are on the throne right now are Viserys and his daughter Rhaenyra, and of course his wife Aemma, and which we all know is a descendant of Jon Arryn, of course. And then, of course, we also get his brother Damon Targaryen, and played by Matt Smith, the Doctor, which is nice to see him back. Yeah.
Yeah, he was Matt Smith playing Matt Smith, but I like his character. And honestly, out of all the characters, he had the best outfits. Like, his armor was just so awesome. Whether the jousting armor was great, or when he's out there with his knights, I guess, I don't know whether they're cleansing the city, if you will.
Cleansing the city of all the, yes.
Yeah, so we're back to the Game of Thrones, right? Like, so we're back to violence, dragons, which really, it wasn't
Penises getting cut off.
Okay, whoa.
No,
that was under the violence.
Yeah, okay.
Like, all that is violence.
Yes.
And did it look like one? Or, like, I was really confused as to what I was looking at. And I watched it twice. I was like, is that... I mean, I know it's supposed... Okay. Well, it looked really butchered. So
it could have been butchered.
But yeah, so we're back to those guys. We're back to, the sexual content and the of course nudity.
Yeah.
So it's interesting where they're gonna cross the line, especially when we're talking about this particular family, the Targaryens.
A lot of incest.
Yes.
Well, because even King Viserys himself is a product of incest. So
he's his own uncle.
Yeah.
Weird. Okay.
Exactly. So.
And we know, I mean, I wonder how they're going to handle that.
Yeah.
Because, it's just one of those things that it's part of these characters.
Exactly.
So, as far as the first episode, though, there was a lot more action than the first episode of the original Game of Thrones.
Yeah, I mean...
With the jousting scene.
Yeah, exactly. Really cool. And it's cool to see. So, this one, it has a lot of parallels to Game of Thrones Season 1. Game of Thrones and Game of Thrones in general, where this one starts out with the Great Council. You have Game of Thrones ending with that Great Council who is naming who will be on the seat of the Iron Throne, right? So you have those parallels. You also have that jousting to, about celebrating the birth of his heir, right? So the whole idea is, so after King Jacaerys has named Viserys his heir, the events that we see for most of this episode are Viserys is now ruling, Jacaerys is dead, Princess Rhaenyra is, she's a young girl who is his only heir at this current time. His wife is pregnant he had a vision that it is a boy, whether or not that vision means this son or another son. We'll talk about that. But, so he's awaiting the birth of his son, and his wife is nearly in the throes of labor, and he's having this big tournament to celebrate the naming of his heir, essentially.
That was one of my favorite parts. The contrast between the joust and the childbirth. Because, it's a weird way to celebrate
because it's such a violent thing, right?
Absolutely.
We saw, was it Cole? Was it Criston Cole? We're introduced to the knight, Criston Cole.
See the Dornish knight?
Yes, he was the Dornish knight who, I think he's the one who just bashed that gentleman's head in during the tournament, asking for the princess's favor. And he's going to play a very important role later on in Dance of the Dragons Civil War. So that's why you're setting up that character. I know.
What are we talking about? What Civil War?
Yeah.
Okay, it must have been in the books, which I did not read. But I really enjoyed that. I thought it was sad and dark because, again, spoilers, but she does end up, not being able to have this child. So the Meister's like, hey, we can save the baby. No, I mean, he didn't give him an option. They could not save her.
Yeah.
He was like, we can save the baby because she's dying anyway. But we're going to have to deliver her. Like, oh my gosh.
Basically a C-section. And so I've had 2 C-sections, and that was really rough for me to watch because I've been cut open twice to give birth, and it was intense. And I'm grateful for modern medicine, but just watching that whole scene, like the baby is breached, they can't turn the baby, and just seeing him, like the helplessness in King Viserys, because he loves his wife. Yes, he wants his heir, because it is easier. Jacaerys is able to prevent a civil war, but Viserys knows that if he doesn't have a male heir, it's going to be very difficult, right? So he wants that male heir, but he also loves his wife.
And he just found out that she's dead no matter what.
Yeah, exactly.
So
That's
he's saying
hard.
goodbye to her, holding her hand as she's being
It's very powerful.
cut open. And it's not super graphic.
No, not that part. No.
It's very well edited, right? It's the going
Perfectly
back and forth with
the
joust, and then you see his facial expressions, the nursemaids'
exactly
facial expressions.
Yes,
and
you start to see the crowd too as his hand of his king, Otto Hightower, is coming down to inform certain key people who are at the joust, and slowly the news starts to spread right as this is all happening. So it's a really good juxtaposition of the two scenes that you're seeing there, and then even more heartbreaking in that scene is his wife is laying there gone. And you get to see, one of the Meisters holding the baby, announcing that it's a boy.
Yeah.
But then you start to see that the baby stops breathing as well. And
so he loses his wife and his son. And it just went by so quick. So that celebration was not long.
No.
And then we get a funeral that is very reminiscent of what we've seen in Game of Thrones in later seasons.
Exactly.
With her using the... Valerian language? Is that what it is? Or,
the High Valerian they use the High
she
Valerian.
Uses Dracarys, which is what Daenerys used to let the dragons breathe fire. So we have a very similar funeral like that. But in Game of Thrones, she was using it as a sacrifice.
Yes.
Which was pretty rough to watch. But this, I thought that was pretty interesting. And then he shifts over, and the king has a change of heart. He was like, well, I'm just going to make my daughter my heir. Because my brother is out there celebrating the death of my child.
And wife.
And, and Matt Smith's character, I cannot remember his name, because these
Damon
are all...
Targaryen.
Damon, okay.
Yeah,
he's
Damon
like, hey,
Targaryen.
man, we all mourn in different ways. And I do feel like he does care about his brother, and he does care about his niece.
Yes.
I don't know if in a weird incestual way, but...
Well, they do set those things up.
He does care for her. So I don't think he's being vicious when he's out there celebrating. Maybe that is the way that he mourns. He's out there partying, and his brother's like, no, you're no longer my heir. Get out. My daughter's my heir, and he has the blessings of all the different houses. Which at the time, they're all under him. They're all under the Targaryens. Because this is different than Game of Thrones, right? Where we had a division, and we had a fight for the throne.
Yeah.
And speaking of the throne is so much cooler in this because it's a little closer to the vision that it was in the book. In the book, the throne was huge. Yeah. With so many swords. In this, it's still the throne, right?
Yeah, he's still the throne.
But it's got so many swords laid around. It's really cool. And it cuts him.
Constantly.
That was a really good image of, it's got a metaphor of like the throne is going to pretty much end up sucking the life out of this character.
Yeah, eventually the throne is going to be your downfall. And that's... a nice metaphor for it. But the quick Easter egg, there are apparently Warcraft swords and Witcher swords in there.
Didn't recognize them. I was looking for Legend of Zelda or the Cloudbuster.
So those have been added in there. So you have to take a look at that. I did enjoy the episode overall. I thought it brought me back. There's just even the way it was filmed. I think it was Miguel Sapochnik, who was the director for a number of high-profile, highly regarded Game of Thrones episodes in the original series. He was the one who directed this first episode. I just got the feel of the old Game of Thrones that we remember and love. Everything from the underlying deceptions and things like that, the different relationships that they're building, and they're doing a good job. The writing, I think, in this is, at least this first episode, is very well done. They're doing a great job of building the relationships and everything that we're going to see later on in this season and future seasons, I imagine, for these characters. So the writing was top notch for me. The way this was put together, the editing, the cinematography was wonderful, and talk about CGI. Those dragons are still freaking amazing. Wow.
Game of Thrones, the first episode aired in 2011, right?
Yes.
So we're 10, 12 years into the special effects. And holy crap, was it a reminder that this is not Game of Thrones. We have dragons, we have the budget, the extras, holy crap, the settings, the practical effects. I'll be honest, the only thing that was lacking for me was that moment of that Game of Thrones gotcha moment. I know we had a death that we talked about, but in the first episode, in the pilot episode, it's where we get the opener with the White Walkers. And you don't see the White Walkers again for another season.
Yeah.
And then you get the, Jaime pushing Bran
Yeah, we don't have anything
the things
quite
I do for
like
love.
that. Yeah.
We didn't get that gotcha moment because the whole time it was tense, right? When she's pretty much letting everybody know that she's gonna be the heir, right? I was waiting for something. Where's that Littlefinger character? And that's the other thing. Like, you look for these characters. You look for Littlefinger. You look for Tyrion. Those kind of characters.
Yes.
And they're not there yet. But I like that they're doing their own thing. So
Our
maybe
Lord Whispers. We're looking for
so.
But they're there. So if you're someone who's familiar with Dance of the Dragons, all those characters, a lot of them have been introduced.
Okay.
It's just that you don't know. It's going to be definitely a little bit more of a slow burn.
Okay.
For some of these characters that we're going to see later on and what role they're going to play. But yeah, let's give our overall scores for it.
Ladies first. What would you give this out of 10?
So this is a great first episode. Mm-hmm. I've watched it several times now.
Several.
Yes, and since it aired on Sunday,
yesterday. Okay.
Right, and my overall score right now would be a 9 out of 10.
9 out of 10. That's good.
I don't want to be crazy and go 10 out of 10. I loved it, but it gave me really good vibes, and I loved a lot about it.
To me,
like Matt Smith.
it felt a lot like the first season pilot of Game of Thrones. So I think I would give it the same kind of rating, an 8 out of 10. I thought it was great. It was fun. It's good to be back in this world. I want to see more King's Landing. And it was just, with the music and everything, it was just a nice return back to this particular show that I've missed, that I didn't know I missed until I watched that opening.
So now that we've got our scores, let's talk about some of the Easter eggs.
Easter eggs.
Yes, that have appeared in this show. I mentioned, I think, one of them with the Great Council parallels, right? But there's definitely a lot of other Easter eggs in this episode that either appear, in the storyline or in the old Game of Thrones series. So the first one definitely is the use of Valyrian steel. So obviously it's a lot more prominent right now, given how far back this takes place. And the first time we see it is when Damon, who's sitting on the throne, which is a big no-no, is talking to Princess Rhaenyra in the throne room, and he gives her that Valyrian steel necklace, which is, of course, a sister of his sword, the Dark Sister. His brother has Blackfire, which we all know from the Blackfire Rebellion, if you're familiar with that story. But the Blackfire sword, which has been lost as far as we know. So we have little of those Easter eggs. But the big Easter egg is when you see Viserys sitting there, he has a dagger. And that is, in fact, the dagger that Littlefinger uses to start the entire series of Game of Thrones, and of course the same dagger that Arya uses eventually to kill the Night King in Game of Thrones as well. So that's a really cool Easter egg that we're seeing.
That's a hell of an Easter egg.
Right? You're seeing that dagger that's taking place. But another cool parallel too is, both shows start with the death of an Aaron as well. So Game of Thrones episode 1 starts with the death of Jon Arryn, and that's a catalyst, right? Because of what the information he knows for everything that follows, where this one is Aemma Arryn passes away in childbirth, and this is an instigation for what I can assume is going to be everything that follows, which is going to be everyone vying for the throne. Even if Viserys is claiming that, has said that Rhaenyra is going to be his heir, and he's had all this lords swear fealty. Many years are going to pass until she actually takes the throne, and during that time, a lot of people can change their mind on if they're really going to accept her as the heir.
And a lot of people can be recasted, apparently.
Apparently. Yes. What other Easter eggs did you see in there?
Nope, you took them all. Oh.
No, the Easter eggs for the words, right? So there's
the Song of Ice and Fire.
The Song of Ice and Fire.
Yeah,
that was there when at the end of the episode when he's talking to Rhaenyra about her destiny of being the next protector of the realms, and he's talking about the dream or the vision that Aegon had about this, what we know as the Long Night, and he called it the Song of Ice and Fire. So basically, there's a reason why they burn their dead. There's a reason why they do a lot of these things, because of these dreams they've had about, they are the only thing standing in the way from what will be this winter that's coming, this long night, which, if they had more dragons, maybe they
apparently got 13 or 16.
Well, no, but I mean, if they had more dragons, if they stayed in power in Game of Thrones times,
gotcha.
maybe the Night King.
We do end up knowing what happens to those dragons, sadly.
Yes.
And that's the problem with prequels, right? We know where this is all
gonna go.
The only other thing that I noticed that was not really an Easter egg was just the different family names, right? You had the Starks there.
Yes.
The Starks are representing the North. You even had a Lannister. So that was really nice.
Yes, you did. Yep. And then, of course, Baratheon. So remember, during the duel, one of Baratheon's ancestors won it and then asked for the favor of the queen that never was, which is Princess
I like that
Rhaenys.
title, which is really sad.
Yeah, I loved it too.
Title.
But they were even remarking how it was very treasonous of him to even say that. And we all know, of course, Baratheon is the one who ends up essentially being a traitor to Rhaegar later on and taking the throne. So there you go. I guess it's always been in the Baratheon blood to be a little traitor. So,
so let's talk about expectations.
Yes.
I actually want to see a proper intro. Game of Thrones had that song with the map.
Yeah.
And I realize it's the same freaking map, and you're not going to really be able to do much because you're focusing on one family, the House of the Dragons, right?
Yeah.
But I still want to see some kind of visual popping up because I'm used to that. I love that. It made the show feel epic. And we don't have a lot of shows these days with not theme songs, but an actual theme to them.
With it, yeah.
Right? They all go to that Lost or Heroes theme.
Yes.
There's no really theme. But that's my expectation. Or maybe that's just wishful thinking.
Yeah.
I don't know what that is. It's somewhere in between those, right?
Yeah. No, and I think my biggest expectations are, I think this first season, because... So if you've read reviews or if you've read anything about the show, you know, even if you go on IMDb, there will be a time jump because IMDb tells you there's a time jump with the casting of different actors for different ages.
I haven't read the story, so I didn't know.
Yeah, but I think this will end with the beginning of what we know as the Targaryen Civil War. They teased it in this episode with the relationship with Damon and Princess Rhaenyra. I know that he's her uncle, but these are the Targaryens.
So you know what that means.
We know that incest
Gross.
is a thing because they're trying to keep their line pure. Mm-hmm. And they have a relationship that they speak High Valyrian to each other. Mm-hmm. They seem very close. And while he may seem cruel, I think we're going to see an alliance with them, at least by the end of maybe this season. If not the beginning of next season, that's going to result in something, marriage or some kind of relationship, because that's what we can expect from Targaryen. It would make no sense for death too, but it would make no sense for Game of Thrones to not address incest. That's what Targaryens were known for. They talk about it in the original series.
We don't have to go into details.
But it'll happen.
They don't have to go into graphic details.
It'll happen.
But that was our review, expectations.
Yes.
Let us know in the comments down below if you want to see it, if you want to watch this live, to do a watch party afterwards, when does it air, 8?
I don't remember what time it airs.
Or is it
Usually
out in
it's
the
like
morning?
Airs at like 9 o'clock.
We'll do our research and then come back to you all.
Yeah, and figure out what we're gonna do moving forward. Because we might do weekly reviews of this. It's one of those shows that you kind of want to.
Feels like it's an epic.
That you need to have it, yeah.
10 episodes, right?
10 episodes. So we'll be doing that, so.
All right, everyone. Stay healthy and safe out there. Sign us off, Amanda.
Yes. So that is our review and our recap. So thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. Remember to follow us on all of our social media channels at nearmintcon. Remember to check us out on Spreadshop for some great Near Mint Condition merchandise, and also on Patreon for $1 a month or more. You can support us so that we can keep doing what we do, which is providing all this great content for you guys. And remember, if it's classy and cool, it must be Near Mint. Bye everyone. Good journey. Hey everybody! Nope, I don't like it. Hey all you minties, the amazing Amanda what the heck? Oh, I remember what we're gonna do, okay.
You got it.
Ready? Okay.
Alright. It's been a minute.
No, we're ready. Ready? Mm-hmm. Okay. Nope. Let me just
Maybe
get
it's
it
been
out.
longer than a minute.
Okay, ready? Okay, I'm ready.
Are
you sure? Are you sure?
That's it. That's what you... Yes, I'm always ready.
Okay, ready? Okay.
I do this every day. I'm ready.
I know you're ready.
I woke up ready.
No. Oh, no, I thought, you know how we used to do... let's go. All right. House of Dragons...
Nope.
What?
That was...
House of the Dragon, Episode 1, premiered on HBO Max this past weekend, and we've got your review right here.
I'm the Uncanny Omar.
No, we do that after.
Oh.
Okay.